Mike? Oh, we've had a journey to get to you, my friend.
Yeah, I've been sitting here for 2.5 hours.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Nice to meet you. Hi. Nice to meet you. You want a coffee?
Oh,
Yeah.
I would love a coffee. Yes, please.
It's kind of got some similarities to both of those parents. And it's
Well, Mike's given us some really amazing history as to the beginnings of Harley Davidson, how it all started over here in Scotland, but obviously he really knows his stuff about this, and you're not going to hear this stuff everywhere, so keep listening, guys, because absolutely fascinating.
Picture this, the year is 1903. In the shadow of Milwaukee's bustling streets, a humble wooden shed hides a creation that is destined to revolutionise transportation and spark a cultural phenomenon. This is where the Harley-Davidson story begins. 4 young men, William Harley, Arthur Davidson and the Davidson brothers, Walter and William, had a vision. Armed with the ambition and mechanical ingenuity, they set out to build something that had never been seen before, and the result was a crude but remarkable machine lovingly dubbed Serial Number 1. Born from their combined efforts, the prototype was assembled in a tiny backyard shed. It featured a 160cc engine, a single-speed belt drive and a tubular loop frame. It weighed in at just 185 pounds. This motorised marvel could reach an estimated top speed of around 40 miles an hour, which was a pretty thrilling pace for the time. Their creation soon found itself tested in a race at the Wisconsin State Fair Park in 1904. They were competing against some seasoned rivals. This fledgling machine placed fourth. It wasn't a victory by any means, but it was a statement that Harley-Davidson had arrived. By 1905, word of this backyard innovation had spread, and Carl Lang, a Chicago businessman, became the first Harley-Davidson dealer, selling 3 of the 5 motorcycles built in that tiny shed. And just 4 years after that backyard experiment, the Harley-Davidson Motor Company was officially incorporated, from a backyard dream to a burgeoning enterprise. So what started as an epic journey from Scotland all the way to Milwaukee in America became a symbol of freedom and individuality. As we peel back the layers of history, we find that the heart of Harley-Davidson has always been these same few things: innovation, determination, and of course the open road.
This is through the archives
Yeah.
in the museum over in Milwaukee.
Right.
And that's Bill Jackson, he's the archives manager.
Right.
And through the back they had this huge wall which they press a button and all these alarms go off and the doors open up, and you had like 3 layers of bikes there, same on the other side, but there was rows and rows of them. And this was all the bikes that, like, you had clay models, you had bikes that never reached production, stuff that Ferdinand Porsche worked on.
Yeah.
They were all in there. So we all got away through the back, you know.
Wow.
So this would have been, it was 2010. That's Martin Jins, that's Stacey. She ran the museum when it was first built. I think it was 2008 it was built.
Yeah.
Jim Frick, that's him there. That's a slate off the cottage there that we took over. He just set up. He was the museum curator or curatorial director. Really nice guy. He started the Jimi Hendrix Museum in California.
Really?
Yeah. Oh. And then moved over to Harley. He doesn't work for them anymore. Don't know what happened. But yeah, really nice guy.
That piece of slate.
Yeah. That one there's interesting. That's Jean Davidson. She took us up.
This one here.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's 96. Arthur.
Yeah. Now she said, I must take you up to meet my Uncle Arthur. So she took us just outside Milwaukee, away in the country, up this beautiful drive, all wooded area kind of thing, and he had quite a nice house sitting in the middle of it. But He's Arthur Harley Davidson. His dad started the company.
Oh, so his dad started it.
Yeah, and he had quite a few stories.
I bet.
Of even like stories that folk probably wouldn't believe just now about how Harley and Indian, weren't at each other's throats.
But they was helping each other, weren't they?
Well, yeah, Indian helped the brothers they'd already set up. They had big machinery and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
they showed them how to make tanks and frames, and they really helped them. But he said George Handy. I'm just thinking of what he said to me. I'll tell you in a minute. He said that George Handy helped them early days, and he said they were friends of the family. They used to go out with the Harleys, the Davidsons, and the Handys. Used to go out for meals together. They used to play golf together. Some of the stuff like that drama, Harley and the Davidsons kind of thing, they make out George Handy to be an absolute ogre because he tried to stop Harley manufacturing and stuff, which is just nonsense,
Yeah.
But that's what happens. Like, you get these things.
Interesting.
And that was when was that? 2021. That's Joachim Seitz, the current CEO, and Bill Davidson on the right hand side.
Yeah.
He's Willie G's son.
Willie G.
Yeah.
Who was Willie G?
Willie G is...
Because they use the skull thing for Willie G, don't they?
I know. He worked for Harley when AMF owned it, kind of thing.
Right.
Because they went downhill. 1969 was the last of the real Harley, like from 1903, 1969.
Right.
They went downhill and AMF took over, and AMF ran them. I mean, they made kind of like 10-pin bowling pins and stuff for ice hockey and things like that, But they ran Harley Davidson right up until 1983 when they started going downhill again. Jean said everyone in the family was saying, "Sell your shares," and she said, "No, this is my family company," and blah blah blah. Willie G did sell his shares, so he was able to restart the company with 12 other people.
Right.
And the Evolution engine came out in '84, and that's really what saved them.
Yeah.
I don't know what's happening at the moment with the current CEO. There's a lot of kind of stuff online which I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
But
Who
knows?
Willie G is there. Well, that's William Godfrey Davidson.
Oh yeah.
And that's just Bill's signature down there. Other family members who've had Jeff put this in here. That's his mum, Carol Lang. She died in a dentist chair, actually. But yeah, this is Jeff here. That's Jean's side. So you got the three brothers, William, Walter, and Arthur.
Yeah.
From the guy from here, William C.
Yeah.
Who met Margaret McFarlane and married her over in Milwaukee, but she was from Stirling.
Oh.
Yeah, so he met a Scottish lassie, married her, and then had the kids kind of thing. And it was really Arthur, this side here, which Arthur Harley Davidson, he's on this side. It was actually Arthur that was friendly with Bill Harley. That was the friendship that started. And Bill Harley was working for a push bike manufacturer, and they saw a French guy doing a demonstration of an engine in a push bike frame, and they said, "That's how we'll get to the fishing lakes, because there's loads of lakes round about Milwaukee, and that's the only reason that they built a bike."
To go fishing?
To go fishing.
They built a Harley Davidson to go fishing?
Yeah. They thought, if we do the same as this French guy, we build an engine, Bill Harley was the designer and engineer. So they built a an engine, I think it was about 220cc. They put it in a push bike frame and it wouldn't even go up a hill. So they doubled the size of it, the engine, and it bent the frame. So they thought, right, we'll need to start building frames.
Oh my God.
And then 1903, they started the company, which was incorporated in 1905. But then Indian were already manufacturing in 1901.
Right,
So they were quite a few years before.
I like the signatures on there, look.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Gene didn't want it. She said, I'll spoil your wall, you know. I said, no.
No.
Just do it.
Wow.
But Gene's really the family historian.
Yeah.
The people that went out first, or person that went out first, was, like say, Sandy was the father of William C. His mother-in-law stayed about 5 miles south of here, and her husband died and she had 2 kids, and she decided to go over to the States to make a new life, and that was 1843. Big thing to do then.
Oh, Jesus, can you imagine?
And she ended up just outside Milwaukee, so she's the reason that Harley are in Milwaukee, because that's where she went. She ended up there, and she was trading with 5 different tribes, and she sent a letter back to these folks saying if a man can do an honest day's work, America's the place to be, and that's why they left, because they had a secure job. Sandy ran the blacksmith shop, although he was a Wright. He did everything timber to do with the blacksmith shop, and that was the Wright's cottage. But yeah, he locked the door, handed the key back, and put 6 kids and his wife in a horse and cart and went down and got on a boat, you know. Quite a...
Where did he go from?
We don't know that, because they never wrote anything down.
Because I should imagine that the east coast of Scotland is a lot more difficult than the west coast to get over to America. Would he have gone across?
There was actually, that was 1857. 1857, there was 4 different places between Edinburgh and Aberdeen that you could jump on a boat.
Right.
And the boats used to advertise, the captains used to advertise their boat as being the most comfortable and safe and all the rest. They were absolutely terrible things. They really were. But I read an account of a guy going from Liverpool in 1857, the same time the Davidsons went over. And he was sitting in his lounge in his house, getting all excited, and then the carriage came and got in the carriage, and he explained about the journey down. Then he could see the bay, and he could see the boat in the bay, and he thought, this is the start of my adventure. Well, it really wasn't, because he got rowed out to the boat, and it sat there for a month, because they never went, right, we're going at 2 o'clock on Thursday, they went when it was full. So he was there for a month, and he said the price of a flagon of water, drinking water, went from, like, say, a farthing to a guinea within that time. So he was running out of money even before he set off. Same thing happened at the other side. He said he could smell the islands and, you know, the land. He could actually smell it after being on the boat for 10 weeks or something like that, because it got becalmed and everything. But then folk were rowing out and trying to sell them stuff, and the police at the time were clubbing these folk for doing it. But yeah, they were in quarantine for a month, you know. So it was a horrendous thing. And if you imagine taking 6 kids and your wife and leaving all this, and, you know,
it's a big gamble. Did they get anything off the government or anything? Were they given any incentives? Nothing at all?
The incentives were, the incentives really was the state of the economy here.
Yeah.
There was hundreds of thousands of people, especially from Scotland and Ireland.
Yeah.
Just doing what you guys have done and just going, that's me, I'm off, you know. It has to be better than this.
Yeah.
When Jean was here, she was walking around the cottages going, oh, my poor relatives, kind of thing. And she's only going by her own experience of coming up in the Harley-Davidson family. They were actually okay. They had a roof over their head. Sandy's dad, he worked at a farm in the 1851 census. He worked at a farm about maybe a mile and a half from here as the crow flies.
Yeah.
But he was following the harvest. He didn't have a house. He was living in bothies, you know. And that's how Scotland was at the time. A lot of people were there. There was poor houses. There was all sorts of things in those days.
Just can't imagine how difficult it was to
Oh,
no electricity, no proper running water, no sewage system.
Yeah.
Well, not much of one.
Well, these three things were still true of a woman that was living in this cottage right up until 2002.
Really?
She was living in there with no electricity, no water, and no sewage, believe it or not. She ended up, latterly she went to sheltered housing in Brecon, and she jumped on the bus and came out here every weekend and just wandered about.
Wow.
But her dog used to sit at the side of the road while she went in. She worked in a fish shop in Brecon, dyed her hair bright red, a real character. But her father died he was about 96, he died in there. But the 1851 census, there was 10 people living in there. And so that was Sandy and Margaret and 6 kids. They had 8 kids in all, but 2 of them died young. But Sandy and Margaret, 6 kids, and 2 workers from the blacksmith shop were all living in there. There was an apprentice who was 18, and there was a journeyman that was 23.
My God.
About March this year, folk got in touch with me from New Zealand, said that they were going over to London to meet up with some of their family. Then they were coming up here because they knew that their relatives stayed round about here. And the name of this cottage came up. Is it all right if we come and visit, kind of thing? And their relative was the journeyman, believe it or not. So they thought they were looking for a gravestone. But
They found where he
lived in here. They were just amazed.
So what happened to the journeyman and the apprentice? Sorry, when Sandy when they left?
They answered that question to me. They said he took over, the journeyman took over the blacksmith shop when he left, and he lived in there when Sandy left, when the Davidsons left. So that kind of closes that end of it. Something else that we wanted to find out was where are the people that went over, Sandy and Margaret, 6 kids, where are they buried over in Milwaukee? So we went up to Forest Home Cemetery. It's about 100-acre cemetery, and it's full. Milwaukee's really a lot of Germans there, like beer producers, kind of thing, distillers, stuff like that. So there's huge mausoleums and stuff like that. We wandered around that for ages, and we found the Davidson plot with all the famous folk, kind of thing.
Yeah.
None of the folk from here were there. So I went back into the office and I said to the guy, told him the story, and he said, you'll need to give me names, you'll need to be really precise, kind of thing. So I gave him the names, came back and he said, right, he says, down there. So over at this end was all the big mausoleums, and the Davidson family were here. The office was here, and the old part was here. They were here. They were buried separately. And I've got a picture of it somewhere, I don't know where it is, but there's a little square about that size with all their names on it just lying in the ground. So we saw that, we took pictures of it and that, and then Jean came to the hotel. We were having a beer, and the receptionist said, there's a Miss Davidson for you. Oh, right, just met her yesterday, kind of thing. And she came back with a big pile of handwritten letters from Sandy's mother-in-law that went out first. She'd written like exactly what she was doing, leaving that place there and all the rest of it, which we took Jean and her son over there, and Jean was really teary because she was standing there holding this letter at the same place. I mean, the cottage is still there, and what she was describing in the letter, Jean could see it all in front of her, and it was amazing. That's what made all this worthwhile. But anyway, we told Jean, said, we were up at the cemetery today, up at Forest Home, and we saw what we wanted to see is where they ended up. She said, but there's no marker on the grave. I know where it is, but there's no. I said, yeah, there is. showed her a wee video kind of thing. She said, right, jump in the car, like, because we're going up there kind of thing. So yeah, went away up there. And we've got a video that I've never shown anyone, like, of Jean seeing this for the first time.
Wow.
It's just great. I mean, these little nuggets are just so good, you know.
Absolutely.
That must have been quite an emotional moment for her.
Yeah, she's had a few. Strangely enough, we've had a lot of the family members over. Every single one of them has been struck by going in the cottage. Even Bill, who's not really into the history or anything like that, and they keep saying, oh, it's Sandy, it's way back, that's ancient history kind of thing. It's not, because William C. saw 20 years of the company. He died in 1923. That's not ancient history. You know what I mean? Like, the Harley were doing really well. Round about 1922 was one of the best years, you know.
Yeah.
But he actually came from here, went to school here, left here, went over with his parents, and he built the shed, that shed there, 10 by 15 shed. He built that in his garden for the sons to work from. To start the company. And he saw 20 years of the company, so I don't know why they don't get it, that it's not ancient history. And he's named after William. He's Bill, and his dad's Willie G. So the William has come all the way down from this guy.
Right.
But anyway, I can't make him be interested in that, you know. It's just a bit of a shame. But yeah, Jean has a lot of the history, and she's written plenty of books about the history, about why they built the bikes in the first place. They started off working in the railroads had started over there, so there was plenty of work. Big factories, machine works, casting works, and that's what they did. They continued the tradition of their father of working with timber, so they were pattern makers. It's a nice picture in Jean's book of Arthur and someone else that I'll tell you, working in there, and they're standing with their heads through this big wooden pattern for one of the driving wheels for the locomotives.
Wow.
But the other guy that's poking his head through there was another friend of Arthur's, and that was Ole Evinrude of Evinrude Outboard Motors.
Right.
He started the company. Same as the Davidsons did. His girlfriend stayed on one side of the lake and he stayed on the other. So that motivated him to build the outboard motor, and he helped them sort out the carburation for the first Harley.
So it wasn't just for fishing then, it was for a woman as well then?
Well, I always said that. I was showing people around and Jean was there as well. And I said, yeah, he wanted to go over to see his girlfriend, you know, a bit quicker, you know. And she said, no, I reckon it was to get away from her father, you know.
Yeah.
You imagine him rowing after him and he's... So, yeah.
Yeah, that makes more sense.
Yeah. Jean's great. I mean, she's done a lot of work with kids.
Yeah.
She started something called Yell and Tell, which... Obviously, I mean, there's been a lot of disasters in the family. I can't remember who it was now. Gordon McClay. Born in 1911, died in 1967. It was Scotty. Yeah, born in 1942, died in 1946. He fell into a mill pond and died, but his pals were there. But they didn't do anything about it. So she started Yell and Tell, so that if something happens, it doesn't matter. You won't get into trouble. You have to tell people. You have
Speak
to.
up.
Yeah. So she's spent quite a bit of her life. She was a teacher anyway, but she's spent quite a bit of her life promoting this to kids. You know. Yeah, really good. That other cottage, 5 miles from here. That was really good. So you see the original cottage,
Is that your car?
yeah.
Oh, I like that.
The number
I won't get the
plate.
number. I won't get the number plate on it.
Had to do it.
Yeah, probably done.
Yeah, you see just above the door and the windows, everything's done just with old boulders and clay. It's called bulling clay, just bulls or stones off the field with clay holding it together. And then when the Davidsons were here, they raised the roof. You can see the new stone, dressed stone brought in to raise it up enough to put a couple of rooms up the stairs. But before that, it would have been thatched, and it just would have been 2 rooms, a button ben as they call it. That's all it would have been. About 1722 it was built.
You just can't imagine putting these blooming great boulders into place. I mean, it's incredible, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, I need to get some light on.
You'll notice this time of year it's slightly warmer in here than it is outside. And that's just a factor of the way it's been built. It breathes, it has to breathe, you know. It's
to let the damp go.
It's lime mortar. But the strange thing is, this was sold in Dundee. There's the maker's name there, and it's GH Nickel & Co. Dundee. Not the makers, that's the ironmongers that sold it. They used to sell all over the world, actually. There's enough room in there to get 2 box beds in. Would maybe come a bit there.
Right, yeah.
But folks say, well, yeah, they were really short in those days. Well, some of them were. The females in the Davidson family were quite tall.
Right.
But no one used to lie flat to sleep. And I didn't know why I'd found this out. But an old woman that was in here one time said, that's because the deil will come and get you in the middle of the night.
The who?
The deil, the devil. So they would not, superstition wouldn't lie flat in case the devil came and took them away in the middle of the night. So they used to be kind of, you know,
superstitious.
lying.
Cut back in that fetal position.
Yeah, that's right.
But so originally, obviously, they wouldn't have had any electricity in the cottage.
No.
It would have just been candlelight, I suppose.
Candles and then latterly oil.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why they killed all the whales for whale oil is lighting up the whole of Europe, I think, you know.
Yeah. But that heated up like an Arga. It's an Arga, isn't it, sort of thing?
Yeah.
And I would have thought it heated up.
It's got enough kind of integrity to build up a heat. And yeah, you can get it quite hot, but
it doesn't heat the way it should.
It dissipates so quickly.
Yeah. Well, this is kind of like the floor and the ceiling, and
what I'm thinking is because this would have been the engine room of the house. Old Mother Davidson would have been up at 5 or 6 like me.
Yeah.
First thing, get the stove on, get the hot water going, then start making porridge or something for breakfast kind of thing. So the heat would have started at 5 or 6 and it still would have been kept going at 6 o'clock at night before they went to their beds kind of thing. So maybe over the course of a few weeks or whatever,
imagine
it would have built up a heat. I don't know.
Liz, imagine cooking for 6 kids on this, and your husband and whoever else. Yeah, can you imagine?
Oh no!
What the hell did they eat? I mean, like you just can't. You can't imagine how they cooked, and like we complain today if you're cooking for one extra person or something, don't we? And it's like, it's just. You know, and these guys, I mean, I think I've got to change my battery in a second, but these guys, they were hard-working people, weren't they? They needed their sustenance, so to speak.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah, the blacksmith shop was just down at the bottom there.
Yeah.
So they probably would have got coal. I would have done if I had the blacksmith shop.
Definitely,
the coal that you got from there, you would have brought it home and fired up. But I mean, you can't get an awful lot in there. It's just
it's
small.
not that big, is it?
It's only from there to there, you know.
Yeah.
And then you've got this here. What one is it now? That's this one here. Pull that, and the draft goes through the oven.
Right.
So you can get the oven going, kind of thing.
So
But-
that would have been your main. Obviously, you would have chucked loads of stuff in there to cook.
I know. You're just making a living. You're not making extra kind of thing.
No.
But because Sandy, and I find this really strange, most blacksmiths were held in really high esteem. Like they're the gurus. That how can they manage to stick metal to metal and stuff? You know, the folk didn't understand, but the blacksmiths did. But Sandy, being a right, he ran the blacksmith shop, which I still don't understand. And he was self-employed and employed these two people, and it's down in the records kind of thing, which we've got access to. So yeah, he actually employed them, but he would have been employing them, paying them a wage, and then taking money back for them staying in here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's that. Yeah.
Little stove in here.
Oh, it's a nice little room, isn't it?
That's what you call a hob grate fire. It's got thistles on it and stuff. But the same guy that got that one for me got this one.
Oh.
Every single one that he got, and he said now he's got hundreds of these, and folk are getting into them again. So this is what he's doing. He's selling them and putting them in. You know.
Yeah. No, they are.
The number.
Yeah. 13.
Just trying to see who was there. Nova Scotia
10th.
and Australia.
24.
If she was your wife and she said we're going to America, like, would you argue with her?
Oh, you wouldn't. No.
No. But there's interesting stories about the daughters, like not Margaret, but some of the daughters. I'll show you some of the folk that were there in 1851. Anne, Margaret, Marjorie. So 3 daughters. When they went over to Milwaukee, they helped to build, not physically, but they were quite religious. They call it the Big Red Church in Milwaukee, and it's got a huge spire. So we went to see it, Jean took us along, and there's a plaque to the Davidson sisters for helping get the congregation together and build this church. But the curator of the church was there. She knew Jean by sight kind of thing. She's quite well known. And she said, you know, when this was built, everyone would walk on the other side of the road, big wide roads in Milwaukee. They were scared of the height of the steeple. It was the highest building in Milwaukee. And it is quite a tall, thin, really thin spire. I don't know how they would have got up there to put the slates on, but she said the architect had to come down and prove that it wouldn't fall on people. So what he did was, he put a rope around the top of the steeple, brought it down, and I think it's 6 Clydesdales at the bottom, and they hit the Clydesdales and tried to pull the steeple down. And once they'd done that, folk went, well, it's not going to fall down, you know. You had to prove
Good
it,
test.
Yeah. Wow, what a story.
Oh, there is stairs then. Oh, there's lots of things in there. Wow. Can I be nosy?
Yeah, I'll show you through there anyway.
Yeah, I'll have just a quick. My God, it's not even proper winter yet, and this must have been like the larder.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always cold in there.
Yeah, I can feel it.
Winter and summer, it's freezing in there. I don't know whether they would have had some kind of blanket over that or whatever. I think so. It's just too cold, you know.
Bit of fishing gear.
Yeah. The stairs are quite steep, so and mind your heads at the top.
Oh. Wow.
So yeah, it's kind of.
Is there a light switch?
There's only these. I don't know whether they're still working or not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at that. There you go, Liz. That's our room for the night. Look.
Yeah.
Can you imagine? I mean, it's as cold as a tent.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Rafters and stuff. And they'd made a mistake on one section of it, and I phoned.
Nice hot water bottle there.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Interesting place, eh? How about that? Jean.
What are we going to say? Because they don't know the history. I mean, they didn't want to
Some great stories. History, guys. This is the history of the Harley Davidson motorcycle, where it started, where it became, you know, where the dreams were first laid down. And look at the view you get. Can you imagine a husband and wife? Can you imagine a husband and wife leaving Scotland, this area of Scotland, well, this exact place, with their 6 children, and in the 1850s, around that sort of time, and going all the way to America to start a new life, and actually one of the sons dying on the way there, or soon after he arrived, due to ship's fever. They worked as the blacksmiths and wrights just down there.
Okay, doke.
Take care.
Lovely to meet
Yeah.
you. You take care.
Yeah, you too.
Have I got everything? I feel like I'll put it in my pockets. Well, there you go. What an awesome place. Would you like to have lived in a stone cottage like that? I think if anybody did live in a stone cottage like that, you'd want to bugger off to somewhere else.
Which is a nice little road, you know. And when you go up Montrose, you're not actually going right through